Welcome, I'm the Ad Enigma, and this is another book review, and as you can see there's a ladder in the background, and that's because I had to go switch a light bulb, because this one blew out when Bo came over. I rented 2K16, so I'm playing that right now. So, it's a Royal Rumble, just simulation. But this book review is going to be the first and probably the only non-young adult novels that I'm going to review, because this is one of the only young adult novels, one of the only books that aren't young adult, because these aren't young adult novels, not theoretically. I guess there is another one, the one I'm currently reading, somewhat like this. It's fantasy. It's the Tears of Artamon series, and the first book in the series is The Lord of Snow and Shadow. And what's interesting about this series for me is that my mom couldn't finish it. My mom could not finish this book. She got like to 100 pages in it and she couldn't finish it, so I picked it up and I read it all. I finished it. Not only did I finish the first book, I finished the second book, The Prisoner of the Iron Tower, which, while may look like the biggest book, it's not. Not even finished the third and final book in the trilogy, Children of the Serpent Gate, which is, it looks like the smallest book, but it's actually the longest with 601 pages. I think it's 601. Let me check, 'cause curiosity gets better than me. No, it's 609. I was off by 8. Whatever. Anyway, just like I mentioned with Eon, there's a lot of politics involved with these books, so it went by slower than my normal reading pace is. And however, unlike Eon, Eon took me forever to finish. Like I said, I've had the book for like 4 to 5 years, and I just now finished it, and I've been reading it since I got it. Like, I read it in stints. Like, I got it, I read it, I put it down, and I didn't pick it up for months at a time. With this series, it was a bit different because Gavril's chapter, Gavril Andar, or Nagarian, whichever one you want to go by it. Andar is his mother's last name, and Nagarian's his father's. Well, he's an artist, okay? He's like me. He's an artist. Although he's a portrait artist, I cannot do portraits. Well, technically his mother's the portrait artist, but he took over this job to do this princess portrait. Well, he fell in love with her. Made out with her a bit. I'm kidding, they only kissed. And then he got kidnapped by some guard that you probably end up liking, because I ended up liking him a lot. Gavril is without a doubt, hands down, my favorite character in the whole entire book. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The only thing is that they bring in, he has 2 love interests. The princess that I mentioned, and a servant lady, or a servant girl, who's around his age at his father's castle, or well, now his castle. But which made me wonder where they were going with it, because he's got 2 love interests, and this princess is being forced to marry the Temerian? Is that what it is? It's been a while. I'm pretty sure they've got... No! The land is called Rosia, and I'm pretty sure it was Mushkabar. There's a Myrum, Asgard, I don't even know how to pronounce that. The White Sea, Castel Dracon. Oh, it's Telian. She was forced to marry the Telian prince or king, and she didn't want to. She didn't like him because he was for shallow reasons. He had a disfigured face. No, I'm kidding. Where am I? Read it and you'll find out. It's 3 books. 3 gorgeous. Can't even hold them all. They're so big. 3 gorgeous books. But yeah, and like this one kind of alludes, he is in prison in this book, or he goes to prison at the very beginning of the book and breaks out, obviously. And the Serpent Gate. Something to do with children, a serpent, and a gate. Okay, I don't think there's really any serpent other than dragons. But yeah, he is what you call a Drakon. Or he has a Drakur inside of him, which is basically a dragon inside his soul. And the more he uses the power, the more it sucks out his soul. The more he loses it, the more inhuman he gets. Like, I think in order to feed it, you have to pretty much drink the blood of virgins or the innocents, so children's, virgins, whatever. You have to drink their blood or whatever. So everybody's afraid of the Drakon, which is his title, because of what the Drakul does to them and the effects it has on him. So therefore everybody is afraid of him, rightfully so. And the more he uses it and the more he does it, the more inhuman he gets, the more of his soul he loses, the more he becomes unlike himself. However, Graville doesn't want to use it. He doesn't want to use the Dracul at all, because that's not what he's about. He didn't even want to do this life. It was forced upon him. So he does the noble thing, and he tries to not use his power at all. However, his bodyguards and his advisors highly advise him to use it because they want to be defended. Because basically the only reason that Castel Dracon isn't being attacked is because of him being the Dracul. He's inexperienced and he doesn't know how to use it, which is one thing, but the reason nobody wanted to attack it to begin with is because nobody wanted to deal with the Dracul, because it was a beast that was pretty much, well, it was suicide if you tried fighting him, because you would inevitably die, because it's a freaking dragon, okay? You would go up against a freaking dragon. You're not going to live against a freaking dragon. Let me tell you. The only way you can live against a dragon is if you run and hightail it and hide in a very good spot where it just doesn't want to kill you. Yeah. But yeah, Kikyu is the servant girl, and I actually ended up liking her. Like halfway through the book, or not really the book, but the series. So probably in The Prisoner of the Iron Tower, I began rooting for her over the princess. Like in the beginning it was the princess. I wanted to get the princess. I don't know why. I don't even remember her name. I'm going to see if it tells you the back of her name. Raised by a protective mother in the sunny climes of the south, Gavril Andar knows nothing of his father or of the ominous legacy that awaits him. But now the man who ruled the wintry kingdom of Iskandar, a man infused with the burning blood of the dragon warrior known as Dracul, has been murdered by his enemies. Expected to avenge his father's death and still his unquiet ghost, Gavril soon learns that becoming Dracon means not only ascending to the throne of Iskandar, but slowly changing into a being of extraordinary power and might. A being that must be replenished with the blood of innocence in order to survive. Yeah, that's what it was. It doesn't tell me her name at all, though. What in the ever-loving hell was this girl's name? Oh, Altesia. That's what it was. Altesia. I'm not even gonna look for his mom's name. Altesia is the princess that gets forced to marry Steve. Okay, his name isn't Steve, but it's something generic like that. It's Eugene. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, and that one it says. This one says Gavril Nagarian has finally cast out the dragon demon from within himself. The Dracul is gone, and with it, all of Gavril's fearsome powers. I don't even know what's wrong with me right there. No longer possessed, he is instead driven mad by the Dracul's absence. Worse, he has betrayed his blood, his people, and put the icebound princedom of Iskandar at risk and loss. At the mercy of the victorious Eugene of Tillian, Gavril is sentenced to life in an insane asylum. For the power-hungry Eugene longs to possess a Dracul of his own, and the prisoner seems the best way to achieve that goal. Meanwhile, a shattered empire reunites, but peace is as fragile as rebels whisper, and a captive's wish to be free. So, yeah, if that didn't tell you anything, there are more than one Dracul. So there's more out there, and Eugene wants to obtain them, or he wants to obtain one of them. The third novel of her claim. Okay. Gavril Nagarian is believed dead, but the Lord Dracon of Iskander lives on. Now he is entrusted with a sacred mission to rescue the kidnapped Magus, in whose possession are the 5 priceless rubies and compose the fabled Tears of Artamon. Ancient law decrees that whoever possesses the gems has the power to impose his law over the empire of New Rosia. But the task exacts a cost to Gavril's soul into his life, as 2 deadly rivals unite in a common goal to destroy Gavril and the dark hole that lives within him once and for all. So, yeah. Like, I really enjoyed this series in general. Like, the first time I read through, I literally only read Gavril's chapters. Like, I would read his chapters word for word. In Eugene's chapters, I just kind of skimmed it because it didn't interest me. Almost anything to do with Eugene's chapters was a bunch of politics BS that I just didn't care for and bored me, and it just went on, and it dragged on. I didn't want to do it. It was bad. It was really bad. But you know what? I got over it, and I reread the first one, and I reread the whole thing. So I read all of Eugene's chapters clean and fairly. I didn't skip or skim, but for some odd reason, his daughter made things more interesting, because he's got a young daughter who's really sick and can't really handle herself very well. So there's just something about her that was interesting and intriguing, so I actually read her chapters, or chapters that dealt with her and surrounded her, because they were pretty interesting and gripping, honestly, unlike Eugene's chapters, or any chapter that just revolves Eugene and politics. No. So I basically skimmed his chapters to get the gist of what was going on between him, Altasia, his daughter, that Silk Tongue character. This is a Silk Tongue character. I can't remember his name, but he's one of the politician dudes. And I just skimmed through it because Gavril and Andal, or Nagarian, however you want to say it, or well, however you want to refer to him as. I usually go with Andar. I don't know why. I think it's because that's the one he wants to relate with instead of his father, because he didn't like his father. But yeah, that's basically the Tears of the Artamon series, not in a nutshell. I mean, it's not everything. I just basically laid out some common facts in books that you would find out sooner or later that didn't spoil anything big. But that is the Tears of the Artamon series, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are ever to run across this book or find it anywhere, like on Amazon or eBay for a cheap price, that you want to read, that you want a good fantasy read, then I would suggest the Tears of Artamon series by Sarah Ashe. It's a very good book series, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It surprised the hell out of me with how much I thoroughly enjoyed this book series. Again, I can't thank Sarah Ashe enough for making these books. They're really freaking awesome. Hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a like, comment if you would. I'd enjoy your feedback, and subscribe. That's important. Ta-ta for now.